Good morning, everyone. Welcome to What is Modalities from You Define Wellness. I'm Denise O'Malley, the founder of our company, and every Friday morning we bring in one of the providers from our network to share with you their modality. What we're doing is we're building a video dictionary so that you can actually go to our website and scroll down and see all these different modalities where we've had a provider talk about it, because sometimes you just don't understand maybe what something is. It's new to you. Maybe you've heard about it and you want to explore it a little bit deeper. Today's a little bit different. We at You Define Wellness, our provider network is not just the healing modalities as you traditionally know them to be. There is so much more to wellness. In fact, there are 8 dimensions of wellness. A couple of those go into the area of intellectual and occupational. And so we invite providers to join our network who fill all, those different areas of well-being. This conversation today falls into that, the occupational and the intellectual. Today I have for you Lorie Reichel-Howe, the owner of Conversations in the Workplace. And she's the one who puts on our second Tuesday event we have for employers and human resource management staff on Conversations in the Workplace. And we've invited her to come in and talk about an aspect of communications that can impact whether you're an employee, whether you're just in a relationship at home, or if you are a health and wellness professional and working with your clients. And the topic is turning difficult conversations into safe conversations. And with that being said, Lorie, I am going to turn it over to you.
Fabulous. Thank you. And I will then pull up my PowerPoint. Here we go. And I'm hitting share, and let me pull it up. You should be seeing something right now.
We've got it.
Hooray. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Denise. I'm delighted to be a part of the You Define Wellness Provider Network family. And I appreciate just the opportunity today to share about how Conversations in the Workplace supports wellness. And our health and well-being is greatly influenced by how we navigate daily challenges. And as Denise says, that includes our work life, because our careers provide us with a sense of purpose, achievement, and a general contribution to life. And positive relationships at work, as well as those outside of work, well, they create what is a meaningful and fulfilling, healthy, supportive life. Now, the opposite is true when negative experiences occur at work, when our clients, coworkers, even the leaders of our organization, they cross those boundaries. And when our expertise is dismissed, disregarded, or even criticized. And when the expectations and demands that we have at work are increased, but yet the resources and support, even the support promise, is withheld or else just never received. Our mental, emotional, physical, intellectual health, as well as that of our clients, is affected by strained working relationships. And that's those at work as well as those outside of work. How often is it as a service provider, we feel like our services are just merely helping a client deal with physical symptoms that are really the result of a bigger problem that needs to be recognized and addressed to then minimize the symptoms? Well, in my 20 years of work in relational management, in addition to my experience as a professional mediator, I've observed that the way people communicate, it will make or break their success as well as their health. And that's in the workplace as well as in their relationships outside of work. I've seen it time and time again that what keeps us stuck in this negative, unhealthy loop is quite often either difficult conversations we are avoiding, we are not holding, we are afraid of bringing up a topic because we're afraid conflict will only increase. Therefore, we avoid it. Or else they are difficult conversations we are not holding well. We try to have them, but conflict only erupts. So, what's conversations in the workplace? Who am I? And what do I do? Well, as Denise said, I am founder of Conversations in the Workplace. My background is in communication, relational management, as well as I'm a professional mediator, communication and conflict coach. And I've published numerous articles. And thank you, Denise. She's made many of those available. And what I do in a nutshell is I equip business professionals, managers, teams to have safe conversations. By that, transformative dialogue that uncovers those hidden workplace issues. Whether issues are challenging team dynamics, mismanaged expectations, cultural insensitivity, or just the good old-fashioned bad behavior. When people engage in safe conversations, they respectively and safely address behaviors that negatively impact them, their health, that of others, and as a result, they elevate their leadership to the next level. And what I equip people to do, well, it looks like this. I train people to transform difficult conversations into safe conversations, to make it safe to talk about concerns, issues, things that have a negative impact. And I do this by giving them the skill to talk directly with the person with whom they have the concern, whether that's face to face or nowadays, screen to screen. The framework is the same. And I show people that it's possible to tell your boss, someone you report to, that you believe it's possible that team members are silent when he or she asks for feedback, and that from your observations, you believe people are interpreting his or her response to their feedback as defensive and as threatening. Therefore, they become silent. I also help people prepare for a difficult conversation with a fellow colleague, coworker, teammate. I help them to see that it's possible to communicate their concern, telling a coworker that their words, their voice tone, even the physical gestures that they use when they disagree with a team member comes across as an attack. And I teach teams to increase their engagement, accountability, and productivity by talking about the issues that hinder their individual and team success. In essence, I get people to safely talk about the elephant in the room. It's there, and I give them a tune-up, helping them talk about things. And usually there is such a sigh of relief that they experience when they actually begin to talk about them. We're no longer avoiding, fearing, but we've really conquered our fear. And we are dealing with uncovering a problem. So what's fabulous is the framework for having a workplace conversation is the same for having a conversation with someone who you are in a personal relationship with. And I've used my safe conversation framework when talking about a broken commitment with a friend, with a family member, as well as a boss. The framework that I've created and implemented into my coaching session, well, it looks like this. Commonly, people will say, Lorie, I just don't have the courage to step up and address behaviors that when things go wrong, when conflict is occurring. And my response to them is that once you develop the skills, you then get the confidence that allows you to speak up. So it's not just about overcoming fear, but it's getting the skills so that you work through the fear and conquer it. So briefly, let me go through a number of the components. You use 3 of them to open up a safe conversation. When you begin a conversation, invite that conversation by identifying your positive wants, what you want for the other person, their success. Could be for your relationship, even for you. You increase the likelihood of a positive outcome by 97%. It's so important how you open up a conversation. And when you do that, you create a safety and thereby prevent defensiveness, prevent people from attacking in anger. Think about the difference of opening up a conversation. What if you would open up a concern with this? I want us to have one-on-one time together in addition to meaningful time together as a family. What if you opened up a conversation with that instead of, with the increased hours you are working, I feel like a single parent? What a difference. Sometimes a concern is really a compliment. It's something you're missing and you need from a person. Then what you do is identify the action. Let the person know what specifically they are doing, not doing, what your relationship needs that it's not getting. And when you open that up with an I statement, you create safety. Too often we open it up, you need to, and whenever we use the word and that raised voice, well, it comes across as an attack. And you want to avoid accusations, assumptions, or making your own conclusions. What you want is to invite a dialogue and yet be real specific. Sometimes we tell stories. We don't get specific on the needed change. So coaching helps people to get clear. What if, in identifying your action, as a provider, you would say to a client, I'm concerned our sessions together are merely addressing physical symptoms, not targeting the core issue. And that could be bringing a change to your working conditions. How different that might sound, particularly when you think someone is coming to you for symptoms, but they're not doing things at work, they're not working differently, or able to navigate the needed change at work that would promote their health. After you open with positive wants, identify the action, talk about what is the impact of the action, what they're doing, what they're not doing, because problems typically lie in the consequences. At any time, be ready for a conversation to break down. It can easily happen, but at the same time, when you learn to acknowledge concerns, contrast what you want to do versus what you don't want to do. I want to dialogue with you. I don't want to argue. And bring a clarity on really what are the outcomes you want. Increase positive health by being ready to reframe those comments, dialogues that would break down a conversation. Be ready to move it towards continuing to engage and getting to the root of problems. So I found that in my coaching sessions, simply walking through what is a client's worst case scenario and helping them know how to navigate that, exit a conversation, reframe a conversation in case that would happen, that helps them to overcome the fear and avoidance and their really refusal to move into talking about it and bringing needed change. So you can open up a conversation with just those 3 components. It won't take you more than 30 seconds to a minute. Be ready to reframe if dialogue breaks down, so that then you can invite conversation, getting the other person to talk, dialogue, work with you in discussing the concern and moving forward to get a resolution. So inviting conversation can be just with a simple question, asking a non-defensive question, a gentle, genuine invitation to speak is sometimes all it takes to get a person to engage dialogue with you. And what's interesting, you build trust when you work through issues of concern, not through avoidance. Avoidance and fear holds us hostage and really prevents us from working through. So, lastly, too often the problem is disagreements result in arguments. Instead, you want to move conversations to agreements in what each person can do in moving forward, how to build needed change, commit to that. And you do that by getting an agreement moving forward. What the person can plan to get from you and what they are willing to give in moving this forward. So those are the components, a framework. Sometimes a single conversation is all that's needed to get to the core of an issue, to bring about needed change. More often than not, most commonly, it's usually a first conversation is the beginning of a series of conversation, and it really becomes a journey. And transforming the way you communicate is a step-by-step developmental journey. The journey is greatly enhanced and accelerated with coaching. The benefits are expansive. Coaching helps support skill development in effectively talking, listening, and collaborating in situations where opinions differ. And in our world today, we see the breakdowns when opinions differ. Coaching provides skill development in being able to articulate your needs in a way that gets heard. You also learn how certain phrases tend to bring a negative response. So learning what to avoid, but also learning what to replace your verbiage with. You can obtain clarity on core issues. Coaching can help you discover that, I've been dealing with the symptom of a problem, not getting to the root. When we identify the root, we start to uncover and we can address it bit by bit. So don't cover up an infection with a Band-Aid when you need surgery. Bandages, when they're cover-ups, allow infection to spread. And then you find out that you're resigning from a work position. You're ending a relationship because you're not getting to the core of it, to the conversations that are needed to help the relationship survive, thrive, grow, and develop trust. Coaching helps you to respectfully address issues of concern and to diffuse defensiveness and creating safety. It also helps you develop tools to manage or resolve conflict. These are lifelong skills that are needed every day in everyone's life, and they change outcomes. When you change your dialogue, you positively change your outcomes. So again, why coaching? In a nutshell, coaching promotes accelerated growth. We all have blind spots, and we all have areas that we desire to grow that we will not grow alone. That's just the human reality. We need another person to help us see, to find our blind spots, to help us see the fears that are holding us back, to help see when we are dealing with symptoms instead of core issues, to help us gain clarity and objectivity, which we cannot get on our own. Hey, it's hard to see somebody else's perspective and understand their point of view. Someone outside of us can see things differently. And the best negotiators in the world can clearly articulate both persons' perspective. Coaching is important because it helps people prepare and practice effectively. First of all, that a little phrase, practice makes perfect. No, it doesn't. Practice doesn't make perfect unless we're practicing perfectly. And even the best professional athletes know the importance of getting a coach. I know of a brilliant pianist who, after years of performing and instructing piano students, discovered that her fingering technique was causing injury and extreme pain. She had to stop playing, let the pain reside, and then she had to relearn how to position her fingers differently, thereby avoiding finger strain. Coaching helps us see where we are, say, where we are voicing concerns in an ineffective way, prevents us from speaking a language or in a way that escalates conflict. It helps you get better timing in bringing up a concern, helps you see what you are doing, but maybe what you need to start doing, and to see where you are contributing into a problem instead of solving. So, coaching gives a partnership for overcoming challenges. Reality is there are bumps in the road. And working with people is not like working with a molecule where you find you can just apply so much pressure until something, a certain action happens. People are not a science, they are individuals. And defensiveness will erupt, egos will become threatened. You'll need to reframe a toxic statement. A coach can help you overcome the bumps, figuring out what's working, what's not working, and what would be more effective in individual cases. Coaching helps people implement a framework which helps them get that skill, develop the language, and gives practice sessions in which you prepare. And even though resolving conflict is a core skill in working with others, these skills are not taught. Managers, employees, leaders are told to resolve problems. They are not shown how. And knowing how to navigate through conflict, through breakdowns, is not a natural or instinctive behavior. It's learned and it's a developed skill through training, through coaching, through practicing. Even so, safe conversation skills are learnable. I know because I've trained managers, business professionals, teams, how to have them. And I want people to know that with training and coaching, it's possible to transform difficult conversations into safe conversations. And this is done one safe conversation at a time. So, my website is www.conversationsintheworkplace.com. There are articles that I publish that you can reach there. People reach out to me via the Let's Talk button. But I want you to know that Denise has already published my articles, has those available via You Define Wellness. And let me do this. Let me transfer back over. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to let Denise come back on and we will engage in a conversation.
All right. Thank you very much, Lorie. We will have a link to her store at the You Define Wellness website on the Facebook page. at the bottom of this. And when we are publishing this on YouTube, you're also going to find it on there. But we do have some questions. So we've got a really good question here. Would you agree that there are many different cultures in any team and that these need to be considered when having a conversation to avoid triggers?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there are, what I think is important, and organizations will create policies. Well, they have policies that support respect. Yet, how do teams need to be able to come together and talk about to them what respect looks like, what behaviors break down respect. Have a conversation around that, bring an awareness. When my husband and I had to talk about, even a date, what's appropriate cell phone use, and to Rob, he's a tech guy. Technology is, he's in and out all the time. To me, I'm relationary. I teach people eye-to-eye contact. And so we had to even to just understand what each of us were comfortable with. For me, I needed to know he's not insulting me, but he needed for him to understand how I interpret when somebody goes to the cell phone. So, and that is, and that technology is a huge conversation. Things that we say are going to come across differently to different people. Some, their family background, they may say, we are straight shooters, we come straight to the point. Others, if you have being cautious and diplomatic is trained and is of value, and cultures are different in regards to that. So policies is not enough. Having conversations around that, what works for someone else may not work for someone else. So absolutely different triggers, but what we have to do is talk about them.
Fantastic. I have another question for you from the comment section, and I'm going to actually rephrase it a little bit from what is written down here.
Okay.
So there are a lot of emotions going on in the workplace right now. There's burnout going on, stress, anxiety, fear, just at an accelerated, it's always been there, but it's at an accelerated pace over the last year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And there may be corporate decision makers, maybe the human resource staff, maybe it's a manager of an employee who identifies that they've got some people who are really needing some help. How do you have a conversation with an employee about, I think you need help. Maybe you need to use the resources of the employee assistance plan. Maybe you don't even know that we have one. Maybe you need to use the resources of Untitled Wellness and all the experts in our network. How do you have that conversation when you, instead of saying, hey, you need help, go get it. It doesn't work.
Yeah. You need help. Number one, it starts with the you.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like an attack.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go back to the framework. Why do you want this person to get help? So starting with what you want for them. Mm-hmm. I want to see you succeed in your job. And COVID, stress, everything right now is extreme. I want to recognize that. And I believe there are resources that can help increase your success. And opening it up with that. Come with concern, come with compassion, and talk about what might be the benefits, what the company has, what the company provides. And then it's about a partnership. Mm-hmm. An employee of a company is helping a company succeed. How does that company help employees succeed? And that becoming a reciprocal relationship. So go back to the framework, open it up with a positive want, and get the dialogue going from there.
Fantastic, thank you. Our guest providers who have joined us, Natalie Forrest and Lori Scott, they both have their microphones off, which tells me that one of them at least has a question that they want to ask you. Do either of you have one that you want to pose?
Oh, I would say with this last year, the need for your services for people who've been trying to keep a job, then take care of homeschooling for their kids, the uncertainty if they're even going to have a job. It's just been over the top for people. And that's the last thing they need is some manager to not, who's also under stress, to not handle it correctly.
Yeah. And I think what is important is that managers need training in how to have these conversations, and employees need training. Now, I think it's critical that we start with the managers. Good managers will ask 3 questions, but they've got to have guts and they've got to have humility to be able to ask them. Number 1, what am I doing that you want me to continue doing? Number 2, what do you want me to start doing that I'm not doing? And 3, what do you want me to stop doing? And if there is that kind of openness, then the manager can ask employees those questions. Now, but how employees point out the manager's struggles, how they point out behaviors that could be hindering their success and employees' ability to trust those, how those are spoken is going to make a heck of a lot of difference. So they both need the skills. I think it's important to start with managers so that they're open and they realize that when employees are talking, by listening and implementing is going to increase their success, and making it safe to talk. It doesn't mean just giving people the opportunity to talk, but showing them how to do that in a way that is safe, respectful. There's a diplomacy to it, but there's also a just a genuineness in wanting, I'm not coming to attack you, I'm coming to help improve our relationship.
That's a big step because I can just feel all the emotions and the rawness that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And you immediately, I mean, I'm working with my brother and I'm actually shocked at how much defensiveness comes up, and we're on the same team. And then when you look in a bigger perspective of a bigger company, it's definitely needs to be like those foundations would be very key to start a company.
And on positive wants at any time. And I found that just compassion and concern, it's like the balloons have just been blown and expanded and air. But when we can relieve, I am for you, I am for you, and people can just have a release of that. When we can understand too that people they're displacing their anger, their frustration on someone, and learning how to reframe toxic statements is so important. And when we respond just defensively because we feel unsafe, so how do we create safety? And if you noticed, in the center of my framework was to acknowledge. When we can acknowledge people's concerns, they feel understood and listened to. Our tendency is to go and correct them instead of do the acknowledgement that it's high stress for everyone. And what you want is not to increase, but to see if we could talk about it, to see if there's a way of decreasing the stress.
Yeah, that's well said.
So when we can come, when people sense we are coming to help solve a problem or even bring a solution, because they so take upon themselves, I've got something else to solve, and you feel alone. But making it into a partnership, I want to see if I can do this with you. I don't want to put more on your plate. Let's buddy up.
Yeah. Nice.
I have a follow-up or sideways question to that. I think what you're talking about is, the part of active listening, obviously, really hearing the other person. And the conversational pieces make perfect sense. What I have seen is that what to me is the number one basic is missing in a lot of corporations, and that is the trust. So if I don't trust my manager, I honestly really don't care how nice he or she sounds, or what a great framework they have set up, because it's like, you've sort of ignored me for the last 4 years. How am I now supposed to trust you? You don't even know the names of my kids, especially right now that I have to deal with. So to me, that piece, and you mentioned, being honest, genuine, and so forth. But do you have any further tips for the managers who, in my opinion, need to become leaders? That's to me the difference. But do you have any tips for the managers, the CEOs, how to recreate or start that trust so that a conversation actually can fall on good grounds, on open ears?
Well, and trust is developed. It's developed over time. It's
Right.
developed because of actions.
Yes.
And its core to that is listening, making it safe for people to be able to talk and engage. Trust is developed as we overcome challenges and conflict. So we need new behaviors. And I think core of it is changing the way we communicate, is positive wants. And it's also for if a manager wants to develop trust, then we need to talk about what will develop trust here, what will break it down. And starting with, you start with a few things. When I coach people, and the first thing we do is have them think about the concerns, the behaviors that are problematic for them, things that are happening. And I'll have them make a list, 10 top, what were the 10 things? Then I have them circle 3. What are the 3 that if we would bring a change and resolution would make the most impact? And then we get it down to 1. And you start with that one, the one thing that would make the most change. So, and that's what they address. Trust would be the same thing. To develop trust, we need to be able to, what do people need? Ask them. And then begin to work with that. What's hard is people, Denise and I were talking about this the other day, they want a silver bullet. And it's not, it's a journey. And so if trust is what they want, then every meeting, what's building trust, what is tearing it down? And we need to talk about it in an ongoing way. How is it going? What's working? What's not working? And again, if managers using the question, 3 things. What am I doing that you want me to continue doing? What does the team need to stop doing? What does the team need to start doing?
Absolutely. And it sounds to me like you probably have also done a little bit of, from your whole approach, that you've also done the appreciative inquiry approach, because you started out in your chart saying, what would you like to see more? And of course that creates that whole environment. So yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. It's a great question. And it's a journey. It's not, your health providers, Band-Aids don't help, but it's not like a dab will do you. Take your medicine once. And sometimes the medicine is a step in the process, but there's other change. So it's layer by layer.
We could probably go on and on and on because I actually have a long list of questions here and there's no way we're going to get to them today. So we're going to go ahead and cut this off here. But I do want to say to those watching this video, you can get more of Lorie. I didn't go into her bio. I got to tell you, it's really long. And with the companies that that's okay. It's awesome because the companies that she has worked with, she is a go-to expert for the Society for Human Resource Management. But she's also one of our experts, and you can take advantage of Lorie's expertise by participating in our conversations in the workplace. It's her event through us that is held on the second Tuesday of every single month. And you can find more about that on both the You Define Wellness website, that's youdefinewellness.com. On the events page, you will find more information there as to how you can sign up for it. It is free. You can also find out information on the You Define Wellness Facebook page, the events tab. We have it listed there as well. So jump in, take advantage, whether you are an employer, a human resource manager, a health and wellness professional, or you're just looking for ways to improve your communication skills in the workplace. Come to those events because that gives you an opportunity to connect with Lorie and learn more about a really important subject that we are facing in our day-to-day lives. So with that being said, Lorie, I'm going to say thank you to you. This has been informative. It's great information for all of us to be using every single day. So I really appreciate you doing it. And to our guest providers who are here, as always, thank you guys for being here, showing up, and asking the questions that you did. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end this one. We hope to see you next Friday at another What Is to learn about another modality in the You Define Wellness Network. Take care.
Thank you, Denise.